Hello there! This video is going to show you how to create a clustered column bar graph for mean comparisons between and within groups. So in this example, I want to see if there is a difference in perceived value of understanding statistics before and after taking my statistics class based on students' gender and whether or not students are a first-generation college student. So I'm going to go ahead and download this data and open it in an actual downloaded version of Excel. We will not be doing this in the online version. So we're going to go to File, Download, Microsoft Excel. It popped up. If not, you can click this to get it. And here's our data. I'm going to go ahead and enable editing. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these tabs that I'm not going to be using today. So I'm just going to right-click, delete, goodbye, right-click, delete, goodbye. So here's my sample data. I'm going to create a new worksheet that has my variables of interest in it. And my variables of interest are gender, first gen, and valuing statistics. All right, so now I need to steal my data. So I'm going to start by stealing gender. So I'm just going to right click above this column, just right here in this letter, copy. You could also click on this and hit copy, it's up to you. And I'm going to paste it as values because I don't want the formatting. If you want to keep the formatting, like the background color, then you could just insert copied cells. But I'm going to paste it as values. Then I'm also going to get data for first-gen college student. Right-click, copy, paste values, and then my two dependent variables here, perceived value of understanding statistics, both before and after taking my statistics class. So we're going to copy that and paste it here. Right-click, paste. Or you could have hit paste or paste values here, whatever suits you. I'm going to go ahead and bold these just so I can tell those are my variable labels. And now we've got our data prepared for analysis. Hooray! We're going to start by inserting a pivot table. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight all these variables by clicking on the letter above them and go to the Insert tab and then select Pivot Table. I'm going to go ahead and put this in a new worksheet. If you wanted to put it in the existing worksheet, you could click this, click on this box for location, and then choose what cell you want it to pop up in. But I'm going to do a new worksheet here. All right. So now I've got my pivot table fields ready to go. And I'm going to take my categorical independent variable and put it as the basis of my columns. Now, if you have a condition in this, like if you have a experimental condition and you want to see if that condition has a differential impact based on some sort of demographic characteristic or other category, then you're going to put that condition as the basis of the columns. But that's not the case here. So I'm just going to choose first generation college student status as the basis of my columns. So here we go. Okay, I'll put that there. Then you're going to take your other grouping variable and make it the basis of rows. Now I could have right-clicked here and add to column labels and right-clicked here and add to row labels if I wanted to, but I just did the click and drag method. Now I'm going to put my numeric dependent variables as the basis of values, because this is really only designed for situations where you have categorical, nominal, or ordinal independent variables and numeric or interval or ratio dependent variables. So we want to put after, I'm going to put before, after, just so it makes sense. All right. Now we have a situation where we want our eventual graph to display the means or the averages, but it defaults to sums here. So we're going to fix that. So I'm going to click this arrow next to the values, value field settings, then I'm going to say, I want the average. And I'm going to go ahead and edit this so that it won't take up too much room in my graph and it won't say average of. It'll just be a shortened version of that variable label. Because usually you're going to explain the results, and so the person who's looking at this will know what the variable was. So I've got my variable label changed, average. Now I'm going to go to number format, number, 2 decimal places. Now our graph, we're going to only have 0 decimal places in our y-axis, but if you need to report results in writing in APA style, you want it to be rounded to 2 decimal places, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Now I'm just going to repeat this process for my other dependent variable. So click the arrow, see how it still says sum, we don't want that. Value field settings, average, shorten the variable label, number format, number, 2 decimal places. Okay. Okay, now let's make sure that this values label pops up above our row variable, just like that. And now we're going to go in and we're going to get rid of these blanks that we see here. So we're going to click on the arrow next to column labels and uncheck blank. Okay. And then click on the arrow next to row labels and uncheck blank. If you don't have any blanks, good for you, but I do, so I'm getting rid of them. So now we have our pivot table here. And before we get to the graph, I just want to show you that this tells you, in terms of before taking the class, their perceived value of statistics, we can see here that it looks like the females who were first-generation college students had the lowest level of perceived value of statistics before taking the class. And males who were not first-generation college students had the highest level of perceived value of statistics before taking the class, for instance. Then if we look at after, right, we look at our females, it looks like our non-first-gen students had a higher level of perceived value of statistics after taking the class, especially compared to our males who were first-gen college students here, right? But overall, the male non-first-gen college students had the highest level of perceived value of statistics after taking the class. These are also your grand totals. So females across the board, first-gen or not, this is their mean of value before. This is the mean for males, the value before, regardless of first-gen status. And then over here, these totals tell you the before total, regardless of sex or gender, for the non-first-gen college students. And then this is the total for first-gen college students regardless of sex. So you can kind of see how those totals work out. Okay, enough explaining. Let's make this beautiful chart. So click on the table, make sure Pivot Table Analyze pops up and click on that. Then you're going to go to Pivot Chart. Lucky for us, clustered column is the default. If that is not the case for you, make sure this is what you have selected and click OK. Now, I am going to edit this axis so it takes up less space, so it only is rounded to 0 decimal places, and we need to make sure that our axis reflects the actual range of values. So since this was a Likert scale, we measured perceived value on a scale from 1, like totally not valuable, to 7, extremely valuable. We want our axis to reflect that. And it can be really problematic, for instance, if you shrink your axis down. So I'm going to right click on this axis, go to Format Axis. If I just did this on like a 3 to 7 scale, look how extreme those differences look, right? Because I've shrunk my axis. So if you ever see that happening, you should be suspicious. We want it to be accurate and reflective of the actual range of our values. See how that changes? You can do a lot by changing your axis here. We're going to be honest. This is our Likert scale range. Now we're going to go down to number, decimal places, 0. I also like to have my legend at the bottom so that when I put it in Word, it doesn't take up as much space and I can really see those bars better. I just drugged that for no reason. So I'm going to click on this and go to pivot chart, or I think design. There we go. So click on design, add chart element, legend, bottom. Now this looks a little wonky in Excel because all these filters are available and you can play with those and see what happens. But I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and I want to show you what it looks like when you paste it into a Word document. So beautiful. Now from here, you can make it whatever size you want. If you want to be able to click it and drag it and move it around a lot, you can format it as square layout, and then you can just really do whatever you want with it. You can also change the colors. So if you want to change the colors of the non-first gen college students, you can go to this, change them all at once, or if you just click on that, you can change the fill, change the outline, whatever you want to do. And also, I kind of noticed that I'm not loving this no yes. So if I go up here and I put not first gen, see if it lets me do it. Yay! First gen. It updates it here. Oop, we need to make that G capitalized. That's bothering me. Okay. Now let's see what happens in our Word document. Look at that. It automatically updates it because it's connected to that Excel workbook. All right, I hope you enjoy learning how to make a beautiful clustered column graph to display somewhat complex analyses looking at differences in a numeric dependent variable based on the mean between two different groups.